All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful, yet, let's be honest, most confusing tools for researchers, the qualitative memo. If you've ever found yourself staring at your data, wondering what on earth a memo is supposed to be and why you should bother, you are in the right place. We're going to clear it all up.
So picture this, you're deep in your research project. You've got stacks of interviews, pages of field notes, and you're just feeling overwhelmed. You're practically drowning in data. And then you hear that you're supposed to be writing memos. And you think, wait, what? Aren't they just more notes? Another thing to write? It's a totally fair question.
Well, here's the big mindset shift. Memoing isn't about piling on more notes. It's about starting a dialogue with your data. It's that crucial private space where you get to record your thoughts, your interpretations, those little aha moments as they're happening. This is where the real thinking, the real analysis truly begins.
To really get a handle on this, we're going to start by busting a few of the biggest myths that trip people up. And once we've cleared the air, we'll build a super clear, practical framework so you know exactly how to do it.
Okay, first up, let's tackle the biggest misconception of them all. The idea that a memo is just a fancy name for any other kind of note you take. So many people think memos are the same thing as field notes or those little jottings you scribble down during an interview. But honestly, thinking that way means you miss out on the entire magic of what a memo is for. They are fundamentally different things.
And here is the absolute key difference. Your field notes, they capture the what. What happened? What does someone say? They're descriptive. They are the raw data. But an analytic memo, that's where you explore the so what. So what does this mean? Why is this interesting? Memos are your ideas about the data. They're a step above. I love this quote because it just says it all, right? Note-taking makes more data. Memoing makes ideas. And it's that leap from just recording information to actually generating ideas that is the whole point of qualitative analysis.
Okay, so memos are for ideas, not just descriptions. That makes sense. But that brings us to the next big question: when do you write them? And that leads us straight into myth number 2.
There's this common belief that memoing is something you do at the very end. After you've collected all your data, done all your coding, and then you sit down to write these neat little summaries. But thinking of it as a final cleanup step is a huge mistake.
The reality is that memoing shouldn't be a stage at the end at all. It's a continuous activity that you should be doing right alongside your data collection and your coding from the very beginning. It runs in parallel to everything else you're doing.
Memos are absolutely not an afterthought. They are the engine that moves the analysis forward. Waiting until the end to write them is like having a brilliant idea in the shower and trying to remember the details a month later. You just can't. You lose all that immediate insight and connection.
So, we've busted 2 huge myths. We know memos are about ideas, not just descriptions, and you've got to start writing them from day one, which of course leads to the big one, the question that stops everyone in their tracks.
Yep, this is it. The blank page problem. The fear of doing it wrong. What am I even supposed to write? If you felt that little bit of panic, trust me, you are not alone.
So, first things first, let's take all the pressure off. Sociologist Kathy Charmaz said it perfectly: every single memo is supposed to be partial, preliminary, and modifiable. This is not the place for perfect, polished writing. It's your private sandbox. It's a space to be messy, to follow a hunch, to literally just think out loud on paper. And if you want a little structure, here are 5 simple parts to a really useful memo. 1. Context. Just give it a date and a title so you can find it later. 2. A quick data summary, like, this idea came from my interview with Sarah. 3. Reflections. This is the heart of it. Pour out your thoughts, questions, whatever. 4. Connections. Does this remind you of another interview or a theory you read about? And 5. Next steps. What does this make you want to explore next? Simple as that.
And here's a perfect example of what a reflection can look like. See how it's not just saying participant A feels free and lonely? It's taking it a step further. It's identifying a tension, a conceptual idea, this pull between autonomy and isolation. That's the analytic leap we're talking about.
Now that 5-part structure is a fantastic starting point. But we can also think about memos in another way, because not all memos have to do the same job. They can actually serve different functions as your research goes on.
Yeah, memos are not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's way better to think of them as a versatile toolkit. As your thinking gets deeper and more complex, the kind of memos you write can, and probably should, evolve right along with you.
You can really break it down into 4 main functions. You might write a descriptive memo early on, just to capture a first impression or a hunch. You could write an operational one, which is basically a note to self, like I decided to change this code name. Later, your memos get more interpretive, where you're really digging into themes and theories. And a really important one is the reflective memo, where you check in with yourself and track your own biases and perspective. They're all valuable.
So, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. Number 1, memos are for your ideas, not just for recording data. 2, start doing it from day 1. Don't wait. 3, forget about perfection. The goal is thinking, not perfect prose. And 4, remember, they're a flexible tool. Let them serve different functions as your project evolves.
Look, at the end of the day, memoing is how you build the bridge from just having a pile of information to actually creating meaning. It's how you listen to what your data is trying to tell you. Your data is telling a story. The real question is, are you writing it down?